Let's remind ourselves of the question. Why does everything change after you hit $20,000? The answer is actually simple. Because your money stops being a little pile and starts becoming a machine. But to understand why, there are a few things you need to know. And no, not in a boring professor tone. This is 13-Minute Finance style. Simple, fun, and straightforward. Welcome to 13-Minute Finance. There is a moment in your financial life where the pressure in your chest quietly disappears. Not because you got rich, but because you finally stopped being fragile. One surprise expense? You don't freak out. One bad week at work? You don't spiral. Because you crossed a line that turns money from a problem into a tool. We'll talk about how $100,000 and even $1 million can change your financial life in future videos. But today, we're focusing on one number, $20,000. First real turning point is, not a flex, a switch. It is the moment your finances go from glass cannon to shield. From one surprise bill ruins my month to, okay, annoying, but not fatal. That moment is around $20,000. Now, before the comment section starts throwing tomatoes, $20,000 isn't a magic spell. It doesn't unlock a secret vault where rich people keep the good investments next to the cheat codes. It won't give you a yacht. It won't give you abs. It won't make your ex text you back. But it does change your life in a very real way, because it changes how you think, what you choose, and how fast you move. Here's the big idea. Wealth doesn't grow like a straight line. Wealth grows like momentum. Early on, you're pushing. Later on, you're steering. And $20,000 is the point where the steering wheel finally appears. Think of your financial life like trying to start a campfire. If you have zero savings, every spark matters. Every gust of wind is a disaster, and you're hunched over it like, please, please work. But once the fire catches, you can actually sit back and use it. Same fire, same wood, totally different experience. At $2,000 saved, you get your first little flame, an emergency buffin. It is small, but it changes your stress level. At $20,000, the fire becomes stable. And stability is what creates options. Let's talk options, because this is where people get it twisted. When you're broke, you don't have choices. You have reactions. Your car breaks? Panic. Your laptop dies? Panic. Your rent goes up? Panic. Your boss starts acting weird? Panic, but quietly, because you still need the paycheck. This is what survival mode looks like in real life. And survival mode makes you do stupid things with money. Not because you're dumb, because your brain is busy putting out fires. Here's a weird way to visualize it. Imagine your brain has a battery. When you're broke, 80% of that battery is constantly running background apps like stress, fear, shame, and emergency math. So you have 20% left for smart decisions. And then people wonder why they keep making tired, short-term choices. Bro, you're trying to build wealth on low power mode. When you're in survival mode, your brain filters everything through scarcity. What's the cheapest? What's the fastest? What stops the pain right now? That's why broke decision-making is short-term by default. And short-term thinking is expensive. Now here's the part that sounds boring, but it's actually the rocket fuel, the math. Let's say you invest an average 8% per year. Nothing fancy, no meme stocks, no my cousin has a crypto gem, just boring. At $10,000, 8% is $800 a year. That's like a couple utility bills. Cute. At $20,000, the same 8% is $1,600 a year. That's over $130 a month. Suddenly, the market isn't just numbers on a screen. It is paying a small bill in your life without you working extra hours. And the craziest part is, you didn't get smarter. You didn't find a secret hack. You simply reached a scale where percentages start to matter. Here's what people miss. Your first $20,000 is the hardest $20,000 you'll ever make. Because the first one is you versus gravity. If you save $500 a month and invest it, it can take you roughly 3 years to hit $20,000. If you save $1,000 a month, it can be closer to a year and a half. Either way, the first $20,000 is you doing most of the work. But the next $20,000? It usually arrives faster. Not because you suddenly become a financial wizard, but because your first $20,000 is now helping you carry the second one. That's compounding. It isn't magic. It is just momentum doing what momentum does. If you want more simple money breakdowns like this, hit subscribe right now, because the next point is where most people finally realize what wealth actually is. Here's the switch. $20,000 changes your identity. Not the Instagram new me identity, the quiet identity. The one that decides your behavior when nobody is watching. Once you've built $20,000, you've proven something. You can delay gratification. You can control yourself. You can run a plan for months without quitting. And that is insanely rare. Because most people don't have a money problem, they have a consistency problem. They can do motivated for 10 days. They can do inspired for 2 weeks. Then life happens. Dopamine disappears and the plan dies. Saving $20,000 is like a certification that says, I don't need motivation. I have a system. And when you believe you're good with money, you start acting like it. You stop making decisions that sabotage you. Not perfectly, just less often. And over time, less often turns into a completely different life. This is why $20,000 is psychological first, mathematical second. Because when you have breathing room, your brain stops scanning for threats and starts scanning for opportunities. The same world, different lens. Example. Your friend says, I'm starting a business. Before $20,000, you think, cool, hope it works. After $20,000, you think, interesting, what are the numbers? Your boss says, we need you to stay late every night for the next month. Before $20,000, yes. After $20,000, we need to talk. A flight deal pops up for a conference that could level up your career. Before $20,000, I can't. After $20,000, is it worth it? That's not lifestyle inflation. That is option creation. And people underestimate how powerful options are. Options are the difference between being trapped and being strategic. This is where I introduce a term I love, walking away money. $20,000 isn't retire and drink coconut water money. It is I can breathe while I fix my life money. If your monthly living costs are $2,000 to $3,000, then $20,000 can buy you roughly 6 to 10 months of runway. That runway changes how you show up at work. You negotiate differently. You talk differently. You stop accepting nonsense just because you're afraid. And here's the funny part. You usually never even use it. The power is in knowing you could. It's like having a fire extinguisher. You don't want to use it, but just seeing it there makes you calmer. Now, there's another underrated benefit that no one posts on Instagram. Being poor is expensive. When you're living on the edge, you get hit with overdraft fees, late fees, high-interest emergency credit, and subscriptions you forgot to cancel because you were too stressed to think. You can't buy in bulk, so your groceries cost more. You can't pay annually, so you miss discounts. You buy the cheap version of something, it breaks, and you buy it again. That cycle is not a personal failure. It is a math trap. At $20,000, you start breaking out of that trap. Not because you became rich, but because you finally have room to stop playing defense every day. Now, let's be honest about the next trap. When people finally hit $20,000, they get euphoric. They think, I did it. I deserve something. And that's where they delete their own progress. New car, big vacation, down payment on a lifestyle they can't actually carry. Let me say it clean. $20,000 is not a trophy. It is a foundation. If you treat your foundation like a trophy, your house collapses. This is the moment where you must learn opportunity cost. And yes, this is the unsexy part of finance, but it's also the part that separates wealthy people from stressed people pretending to be wealthy. Opportunity cost is basically the ghost of money future. It asks, if you spend this today, what does it cost you tomorrow? A $30,000 car isn't just $30,000. It is also the growth you gave up. Over 20 years, that money could turn into a big number. Not because you're a genius, because time does the work. And this is why rich-looking people can be broke. they buy monthly payments. Then they wonder why they feel stuck. Because monthly payments are just future freedom sold in pieces. Here's another sneaky shift after $20,000. You stop caring about tiny expenses and you start caring about the big ones. When you're broke, you can spend 45 minutes debating a $4 coffee. Meanwhile, your rent is eating your entire life. At $20,000, you start thinking, where I live, what I drive, how much I save, what I invest in. The decisions that move your net worth by tens of thousands, not $10. That shift is maturity, and it is liberating. Because you stop feeling like money is 1,000 daily landmines. You start treating it like a few big levers. You realize saving $20 on coffee won't fix a $500 rent increase. So you start asking better questions like, what's my biggest expense and how do I lower it? You stop micromanaging pennies and you start managing your life. Now, let's talk about becoming the investor class without turning this into a spreadsheet funeral. At $20,000, you can do something important. Separate your money into roles. Emergency money, investing money, spending money. When you have only $3,000 saved, everything tries to do everything. Your emergency fund is also your vacation fund. Your investment fund is also your in case my cousin gets married fund. And that creates chaos. At $20,000, you can start giving your dollars a job. And dollars with jobs create order. Order creates consistency. Consistency creates wealth. And now, finally, you can start investing like a real adult. Diversified, long-term, calm. Even if the market drops 15% or 20%, you don't panic sell like it's a sinking ship. Because your survival is not attached to your portfolio's mood swings. You have a buffer. You have time. You have options. So, why does everything change after $20,000? Because at $20,000, your brain exits survival mode. Your money starts compounding fast enough to feel real. Your identity shifts from, I'm bad with money, to, I'm building something. Your career decisions move from desperation to strategy. Your spending moves from dopamine to opportunity cost. Your life becomes less reactive and more designed. And no, $20,000 isn't the finish line. It is the first door. It is the moment you stop pushing the boulder with your face and start building momentum that rolls without you bleeding every day. So if you're below $20,000 right now, don't get discouraged. This isn't about being late. This is about knowing the real game. Your first $20,000 is the hardest, and that's exactly why it's the most important. Stay rich till next video.